Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Eric, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, today's guest is Eric Olson. Eric is an entrepreneur, a multiple business owner, founder of multiple businesses. He's got Forge Media Group, Renoa, and Olson Superior, and it sounds like many more on the way. In just 8 years, Eric has grown this portfolio to roughly $35 million in revenue and over 100 employees. And they built Forge Media Group into a top-tier agency serving huge brands and growing huge brands. Eric's also got an amazing personal story. He was a pastor in the past, overcoming interesting childhood with parents battling addiction. And he's become an incredibly ambitious founder. And I want to hear more about his amazing, huge goals to get to $1 billion in revenue. And he's a big leader. He wants to be a big leader in the marketplace. He describes himself as a marketplace leader, following the footsteps of many others. And I'm excited to have him here to learn about how he leads his company, his community, and about his big goals and how he plans on getting there. So, Eric, thanks so much for being here, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah. Before I jump into the questions, as always, love to kick it over to you. Maybe, is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself or about the companies you run?
Hey, I'm just thankful for the opportunities that I have. I'd like to think that I get to steward lives. I get to steward opportunities with people. And it just so happens that I have businesses as the playground, as the place to do life with other people, constantly learning. And so, yeah, just glad to be here with you. And if there's anything that I can share or with anybody that might be listening that could help them, then this was a meaningful podcast today.
All right. I've talked about that with other people that in my experience, one of the joys of being an entrepreneur and a business leader is that you get to change the lives of the people working with you and for you, right? It's like, somebody comes, maybe they start with you when they're young and they grow into this amazing leader and they grow up in the company and then they get married and they buy a house and they have kids and you're like, wow, like it's just amazing to see people along that journey. And I think that's incredibly rewarding as a business leader. So yeah, you talk about stewarding. I think it's great. Let's talk about your company. So you have some big goals and some big vision. What is the big vision for your companies and getting to that big audacious goal of $1 billion? Where does that come from? And maybe talk us through that.
Well, where it comes from, right? If I go backwards some, is I remember you mentioned earlier that I served as a pastor, and I served in ministry at different capacities. And there's this phrase that gets kicked around in church. Not too sure I agree with it, but I think a lot of people support it. And they say, well, where God guides, God provides. Because if God's compelling you to do such things, well, then he ought to take care of you and make sure you have the ability to do it, maybe financially. And so there's maybe some truth in there, maybe. But for me, what happened is I knew that I had a really big heart. And there were things that I wanted to do. There were things that I cared about, and I was willing to go put the work in. I was willing to make the effort. But the provision sometimes, most of the time, didn't actually level up. And so if I wanted to go make an impact in a specific community, maybe with this specific neighborhood, and there was no money, there was no support to be able to do it, somebody might have questioned whether or not that was God's will for me to do it. Because, hey, where God guides, God provides. Yeah. So I wrestled with that because I knew that I had a heart and the capacity to go and make an impact, but I didn't have the provision. And so for me, I prayed. A lot of people have a lot of different beliefs, but I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. And I prayed to ask God, I said, God, I think that these are noble desires. These are good desires to go make impact. you got to teach me, you got to train me, you got to give me the ability to actually go and make money and to be able to
Mm,
steward resources so we can go do great things together. And so that's been my motivation still today. 8 years into business is asking God to give me wisdom, to surround me with wise people, to learn from others, to be able to have funds, to be able to do big things, do great things. And so over the years, what I found out is um, at my plumbing company. So I have multiple businesses in the home service industry. It's surprisingly a great opportunity to make an impact on people's lives.
mhm,
And so when you have a single mom who um, maybe she's got some kids, don't know what happened with the marriage, maybe her dad died and grandpa's not around anymore, and she contacts my business at 7:30, 8 p.m. at night. She's trying to get the kids ready for school for the next day, and suddenly she's got a toilet that's overflowing and destroying her floors.
mhm,
So then she contacts my company. And we have the opportunity to just go out there and fix the toilet and leave her as a satisfied customer. So she contacts a plumber. The plumber fixes the toilet. The plumber leaves, charges a fair wage. Um, she's happy. We're happy. Good to go. Maybe, but what if we wanted to do more? What if we wanted to look at that as an opportunity, not just to solve the plumbing problem, but to actually make an impact on somebody's life with those few minutes that we have inside their house together? That's not something that everybody talks about. That's not something that maybe every plumber talks about, right? That might not be something that every plumber is trained to do, but
mm,
here at our company, because I'm actually intentionally searching out and looking for opportunities to make impact. It's something that we actually teach and train on and invest into, not just having somebody that can solve a plumbing problem, but to look for the people opportunities as we go into the home. So that follows, just kind of a strange example, but that follows everywhere we go, because at the restoration company, I have a restoration remodeling company called Renoa. That same house, that same person is now going to be working with homeowners insurance and contractors and people coming in afterwards to fix the floors. That's a nightmare. That's an absolute nightmare of conversations. And man, I wish my dad was still around. I wish I could call my grandpa. I wish I had somebody, because I just got all these contractors in here. I don't even know if I could trust them.
mhm,
That is a golden opportunity for us to show up and be peacemakers and to take chaos and bring calm, to take
mm,
chaos, and bring clarity. And so for me, I get to go and build a business and make a living, but more importantly, make a difference. And if I can do that while making a living, then I don't have to work a day in my life. So that's a little bit. I mean, I don't really know where to start, but you're
yeah.
just getting
I mean, that sounds
insight.
amazing. What is that? Can you give an example of what that looks like? In the plumbing example, you go in and you want to impact when those few minutes you're in the home. What might that be? What would that look like?
We try to encourage our team. Not everybody; it's not a requirement, but we try to help them understand even the power of their words. Um, in We want our employee to feel comfortable being themselves. You never have to be me. I might do it another way. We really want our each plumber to learn to love and care for and serve people in whatever way makes the most sense for them. But as an influencer, as somebody seeking to influence my team, I try to teach them the power of words. You may not know that mom, like if this one scenario, you may not know the mom, you may not know the backstory, but you don't need to. When you go into that house, you could just walk in to the bathroom and unclog the toilet and focus on the plumbing. But along the way, in ways that are appropriate and make sense, you can actually speak life into that individual. And when you see the house and you see the kids, you can look the mom and say, "Hey, I just want to tell you you're a great mom." And you may not always feel like a great mom, but running a house and taking care of kids and getting things ready for school, trying to deal with home problems and toilet issues, and you got some crazy plumber coming in the middle of the night unclogging your toilet. Man, that's a hard thing. I just want to tell you, you're doing an amazing job. Something that simple and that direct can actually make an impact for that moment, you know? And I'm not saying that my team needs to be counselors and therapists. Some of them are, and they're actually ready to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But even those subtle differences is what can make meaningful impacts in people's lives.
yeah,
Um, then there's actually more chaos, like the floors are damaged and this is going to turn into an insurance claim and the house is going to be ripped up for, a few months possibly. That's when we really get to dig in because love, I know I'm going to talk about strange things here, but love is weird when it has no context. So when I walk into the Trader Joe's and I reach in for the lady and give her a hug and tell her that I love her, she's going to call the police. It's inappropriate. It doesn't
yeah,
make sense because there is no relationship. And
right.
so what happens is over time, we might have service calls where we have repeat customers and through years we develop the right to tell somebody that we love them and we care about them. But there's this unique opportunity when somebody's house gets flooded because of a slab leak or pinhole leak, the copper pipes are failing, and now we're in their house every day for like the next 3 months, sometimes 6 months, depending on how big the issue is. We're able to establish relationship pretty quickly because they're going through it. They're
Yeah.
really, really, really going through it. And those are those opportunities where we're really going to be able to set ourselves apart from others and really get to shine because the level of care and the way that we've trained our team to really follow up and communicate and support in that type of scenario, when the house was flooded and the kitchen cabinets are coming out and the flooring's coming out and we're packing up your house and you might even need to move out and like move into an Airbnb or a hotel. The way that we've prepared our team to care in that moment is really where we're going to shine far beyond others.
Mm. Yes, you are. I mean, especially in those situations, you're guiding them through a really rough process, right? If you got to move out of your house, and yeah, that's tough. So you've grown tremendously over the past 8 years, and now you told me you have the big goal of 10xing in the next 3 years, right? But you've had a shift and realize that likely can't happen organically. Now needs to go through acquisitions to get there. What led to that? How'd you get to that point? And yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I was reading a book. It's called 10X is Easier Than 2X. It's written by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Mhm.
And something that he starts the book off with is he says, um, you need to not work 10 times harder. You need to think 10 times bigger. And
Mm.
he's talking about somebody setting a 10x goal and achieving it in a short period of time. And so for me, if I look at, let's just say my residential plumbing company, in the first, maybe 7 years, we were able to go from zero to, a little over $12 million on just the residential side. And in doing that, that's like a lot of work to start up a company when you had nothing to
Well,
build
but
team.
and hate to interrupt, but by the way, still super impressive, right? Most companies never get there. So that's still an incredible accomplishment, you know?
Yeah. So we're proud of our team. We're proud of our team to build an infrastructure on just the residential side alone and be able to get to $12 million. That's a lot of work, and
Mhm.
just trying to find plumbers and find employees and to get people when you have a level 10 vision and you need level 10 employees, it's
Yes.
hard to find them. And
Yeah.
so reading Dr. Hardy's book, he talks about setting a 10x goal. So do 12 million times 10
Mhm.
and then go all in to achieve that in 3 years. That sounds impossible, right? Trying to get from 12 million to, let's say, just double to get from 12 to 24 million in 3 years. That sounds impossible
Mm.
because it is. Like it took me 8 years, 7 years to get here. But what Dr. Hardy talks about is the mind actually needs to think differently, needs to think much bigger. So rather than hiring 167 plumbers and buying 167 trucks and doing everything I'm currently doing to 10x in 3 years. He says, you actually gotta think way different.
Yeah.
See, if you don't change your mind, if you don't change the way you think, if you don't change your approach, and you just keep doing what you're doing that got you
Yeah.
here, it, it's not going to get you there. And so there's been other people that have written books and famous quotes as what got you here won't get you there. It's
Yeah.
actually true. It's actually
Yeah.
true. And so for me, if I was going to set that BHAG goal and try to 10x in 3 years or less, I knew I would not be able to do it. It would be absolutely impossible to do if I didn't get transformed, if I didn't change. I actually have to think differently. And so what that led me into is, rather than adding plumbers, what if I added companies? So
Mm.
instead of adding plumbers and trucks, what if I added businesses that maybe you find that individual who has been running a plumbing company or HVAC company down the road, seeking to retire, but doesn't have the right systems in place, doesn't have the right exit strategy set up, and really can't retire and get the valuation they need in order to exit. What if I spent my time, rather than trying to focus on finding plumbers, if I found those key individuals looking for an exit, and I can help them prepare for their exit, obtain a greater valuation, and most likely a better result. I can now add a company that's maybe has a 30-year history with a client base, already has plumbers, already has what it needs. I just have to add my systems and my processes and my leaders into that existing company. That might get me there a little bit faster than trying to start from scratch with plumbers. And so far it's been working. We've acquired a couple businesses along the way, and things are already taking off pretty quickly.
That's awesome. I have a whole bunch of questions based on that. I love it. Number one, has it been a challenge? So you had to change your mindset, but I imagine, or maybe I'm assuming, your team also has to change their mindset. So you got to get your team on board too, which is a huge radical shift in the way that they operate and the way that they think. Was that a challenge in that process, getting them to also shift? Um, and second question, just before I forget, but I'm curious how the M&A process has been going. I feel like the past couple of years, there's been a lot of money pouring in from private equity and VC into the home services category industry. Like, are you finding that it's super competitive with all these businesses?
Good question. So there's a proverb that says, with the lack of vision, the people perish. And the word there, if you dig into it, is originally in the Hebrew language, that proverb. And the word perish means to run around aimlessly, kind of wandering. So with the lack of vision, the people are left wandering. And so for me, as a leader in my organizations, my main objective is to cast a vision and to make it plain, to be able to
Mm,
actually clarify, explain clearly what it is we're trying to do. So that way I can then recruit my team into this thinking. The challenge is when you set a 10x goal, and I have an amazing team that's been with me for a long time, and I know how hard they've worked to get us here. And to say, hey, we're going to jump from 12 million to 100 million plus in the next 3 years, that's going to create fear. That's going to create a lot of it could create fear if I don't lead well, could
right.
create fear to say, hey, how are you going to ask more of me?
Mm,
I already work so hard. I already do so much. And you're trying to 10x in 3 years or less. Holy smokes. Impossible.
yeah.
And so I can't just cast a grand vision without curating the pathways that are going to help us get there, and without communicating properly to the point where they can actually see the path to get there. If I don't do that well, then I'll lose my team, and I'll be battling a new giant, and the giant will be fear.
Mm,
And you don't want to be wrestling with fear. We want to be
yeah.
able to operate from abundance, moving forward with joy and excitement. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight to your first question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
No, I mean, that sounds, you're attacking it intentionally, right? You're not just casting. I think it's one thing that's like, hey, we're going to go over here, but without thinking it through and communicating properly. But okay, here's the plan, guys. Here's the vision, but here's the plan to get there. I think that's going to dissuade and handle a lot of those potential fears, and that's what being a good leader is, showing people the pathway there and leading instead of just like yelling at them. That's where we're going. It's showing them where you're going to go, I think.
I was working with I offer some level of business coaching, not as a service. I don't charge for it. I just love people and care about them. And I have somebody that's in Washington right now, and he owns a plumbing company. He's currently doing about 3 million between plumbing and reconstruction because he does build backs after floods. Um, and he's been going into his office telling his team that they're going to start doing $150 million, and people better just level up and better get with the program. And if you're not the right here, you can just walk out this door right now. It's like, buddy, you're doing so many things wrong right now. You're doing so
Yeah.
many things. Like, first of all, how are you going to get to 150? These guys are giving you all they got, and you're
Yeah.
getting three.
Yeah.
You're getting three. And so I've been spending a lot of time with this individual trying to help him kind of, first of all, reshape his goals. I'm not saying, hey, you got to make realistic goals, buddy. I'm trying to make impossible goals, but you have to be prepared yourself to change. You have to be prepared yourself to be a constant learner and a grower and a great leader, because you can never take somebody to a place that you've never been. You can't
Mhm.
lead somebody to a place you've never been. And so you actually have to go there first in your mind and actually have a well-designed plan and be able to communicate it to rally people into that higher level thinking. And
Yeah.
so, man, I think that's a mistake that people can make sometimes.
I couldn't agree more. Maybe we can have another episode in 6 to 12 months. I'd love to hear how that guy's doing and if he's changed and grown that company. You talk a lot in the intro call, and even earlier, you talk about your people. You've got an amazing team. You've curated an amazing team, A players, and you read that book, First Who Then What, right? Or the principle of first who then what. Um, I think that even actually more so great people, A players, they want structure and accountability. They want to know like what it looks like to win and that everybody else is also trying to win, right? And they don't like when people are like bringing down the team. As you've grown, what does that look like? What are your systems look like internally for your A players so that they know that like, hey, this is how we're all operating. We're all being held accountable and we're all, pulling our weight to make sure that we're growing. We're gonna 10x in 3 years. Do you have systems internally or how are you doing that?
Yeah, so we have three words that are important to us. The first one is cadence, the second one is clarity, and the third one is consistency. And so we learn this through pain and suffering. When you are a startup company, I'll just speak for myself. I was a startup company, and in the very beginning, you're just trying to take off. You're just trying to like a rocket ship, just trying to
Totally.
leave launch pad. You're just trying to get going. And
Mhm.
in the very beginning, you'll sell anything to anybody maybe, and to do things that are unreasonable because you're just trying to prove the fact that you can be in business and do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is, at least for me, is I didn't have systems. I didn't have processes. Uh, I worked for other organizations prior to starting my own business. When I worked for those other organizations, they had the multiple millions of dollars to go create the systems and processes. And I was able to manage well and do very well because they had systems and processes in place. But for me as a startup, I had no systems and processes. I just had pain and suffering, and so I was, I was, yeah, I think the opposite of systems and processes is pain and suffering, and so I was just I was good at sales. I could go sell stuff, and I was great at
Yeah.
customer service. And what ended up happening is I had a lot of revenue coming in, but very little profit.
Mm.
So I remember, I actually have a business partner now. He wasn't my business partner at the time. And I said, man, I really need your help. Like, I run these businesses now and I don't understand why I'm not making any money. Like, all my employees are making money, but I'm not making money. And so I was like, buddy, can you come take a look at this? Well, I need like a district manager or a supervisor or something. I don't care about being the boss, man. I need to like have somebody in charge of me because I'm not
Yeah.
making. So this individual who's now my business partner came along and he's just started looking at my numbers and started looking at the way I was doing things, and he started pointing out, well, here's your money. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have money. I just didn't know it. It's
Yeah.
sitting right there. I've been wasting it. I was blind. And so, and again, I'm very transparent. Like I was terrible. I was great at what I did. And then there were a lot of things I was not great at. The book you referenced is, again, I'm a super Benjamin Hardy fan right now, was Who Not How.
Mm.
So you could spend all your life trying to save money by figuring out how to do things and read the book and take the training. And one day you might be able to figure out how to do it yourself. Dr. Benjamin Hardy talks about there's a wiser choice. It's stop trying to figure out how and figure out who. And so that's exactly what I did. I was trying to figure out how to get this stuff done, not doing a very good job because I was spread thin.
Yeah.
Instead, I needed to actually find it. So this individual who is one of my best friends, operating at a high level for some big organizations, I actually extended an offer for him to actually join me and be a business partner with me because he was definitely a who. I could then stop trying to figure things out, stop trying to fix that, stop trying to teach and train myself while trying to operate business. I'm just going to stay in my lane, do what I do well, and get somebody to do that for me. And so he came in, and I learned a valuable lesson is I actually need to surround myself with who's, and I need systems and processes in place. So going back to those three words, cadence, clarity, and consistency. I had to develop a cadence with systematic patterns of how often I would look at my numbers, how often I would look at my KPIs, what exactly those conversations look like, what are the questions we ask ourselves, and I had to learn how to do that over time.
Mm.
Clarity is where we're actually are aligned and agreed upon, what it is we're doing, what success actually looks like, what the roles and routines are of the individuals inside of our organization, what accountability looks like. It's got to be really, really clear. You know
Mhm.
why? Because as I mentioned earlier, with the lack of vision, the people perish, they're left wondering. And so I recognize that if I didn't have healthy cadence and I didn't have really, really clear goals, if I didn't really have really clear pathways, and if accountability and what accountability looked like wasn't really, really clear, it's going to actually jeopardize my results. It's actually going to cost me a lot of money, because of what I'm losing out on without having proper structure. Then there was the consistency. It's like it's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to do it over and over and over and over again to where it just becomes a lifestyle. It's not some project where you just start working really hard for a month and change your results. No, it's got to be a ongoing lifestyle within this business. And so we learned a lot over time. And so now we have different style meetings that we have set up where we do that.
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Okay. Um, there's so much good stuff in there. You mentioned consistency. I Couldn't agree more. I think oftentimes people think it needs to be sexy and flashy, but oftentimes success is just doing the same thing, being consistent and doing it over and over and over again, and doing it the right way over and over and over again. How often, what is your cadence? How often you guys meet? Are you quarterly, monthly, weekly? Like, how often do you guys get together as a leadership team and go through things?
We have different types of meetings. So I know that on Monday, today, a couple hours from now, I'm going to go to um, a meeting that we have weekly where I have each of my department managers. I'm just speaking from one lens right now, from the plumbing lens.
Yeah.
And so my plumbing and HVAC company, will have department managers come into a meeting and we will review KPIs and numbers. And we're going to review um, agreements that we made the prior week on the actions that we're going to be able, the actions we're taking to actually fulfill our strategy. And we're going to talk about issues. We're going to talk about any challenges that we're currently facing. We're going to come into an agreement with what we're going to be doing this coming week, and we do that every single Monday. Um, I have the same meeting at one of my other businesses on Friday, and with other leaders from another company. And so, whatever business we have, we're going to have that same style meeting weekly. We also have professional development plans, and we have
Mm.
one-to-ones, and we have right now I have an annual business planning retreat that's coming up on December 12th where our organization will get together. It's an all company meeting
Mm.
where we'll actually plan out the following year and make sure everybody's clear on what we're going to do next year and how we're going to get there. So I mean, we got all types of connections, but they're very meaningful.
Yeah.
They're thought out. They're very purposeful because we don't have time to waste. But yeah, those are just some of the things that we do regularly.
So you bring the whole company to your annual planning meeting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Have you always done it that way, or is that something new that you started?
No, we've done that. We've done that from the beginning, and so we've just maintained that. We actually shut down business. That's a hard thing for many people to do, especially
Yeah.
when you have operations. But what it does is it speaks value to your employee that you're actually including them in on next year's plan. You're able to develop a pride of ownership with them that they get to actually share their feedback and thoughts, that what they say matters. And when they start to see the fact that they were actually able to influence decisions or changes that matter, that's a culture boost. And I find that shutting the company down for a day really helps build the culture that we need to get those results that we're going
Mm.
after.
Interesting. Okay. So I want to talk about your multi-company portfolio and the strategy to continue growing through acquisitions. Many of the companies, including some of the map companies we work with, um, so our CEO and owner, Mike, his former company is called Restaurants on the Run, and they ended up selling to Grubhub, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, and he had a similar strategy for growth. They realized somewhere along the way, they were in business for, I don't know, 20 years or so, and they realized along the way, hey, we are great operators, but if we're going to grow, we need to grow through acquisitions. So what they did is they found all these different geographic areas around the country and found similar businesses and just went implemented their system. And so they knew they had this amazing system they built. They said, "Great, we're going to take it on the road." And that's how they were able to build up their company and ultimately sell to Grubhub. And I think we've seen that with some other companies we work with. Like, do you have this system that you're now uh, documenting, solidifying that you're gonna take and implement with the companies you acquire? Is that how you think you'll get, like, the, uh, consistency with those companies?
Yeah. So for us specifically, I've created kind of like a specialty team,
Mm,
um, like secret agents.
mhm,
Um, I call it the C suite. So I've created a specialty like C suite of individuals that can actually be inserted into the merger and acquisition
okay,
to take our systems, our processes, what we've done well that leads to our success, and to be able to quickly insert that into the new entity. And
yeah,
so that is something that many people would say is impossible, because you're going into a company that has a long history, people that are there that come with presuppositions and their own thoughts and emotions and all sorts of things. And so what I've done is I've actually created a very unique team that has the ability to care for, love the individuals while bringing about change in an organization. So change management, that process is a big deal. I teach something called a change management pyramid. Looking at the base of the pyramid is knowledge. On top of that's understanding. On top of that's willingness, then ability, and then sustained change. So when we're going into maybe a merger and acquisition opportunity, maybe we've acquired the business, I want my elite C-suite specialized team to actually take the organization through the change management pyramid. Starts off with knowledge. Do the individuals in this organization know what we're doing?
Mm.
That understanding, do they know why? Are we actually earning the right to make the changes with the people? I'm not going to get their willingness if they don't know and they don't understand. I'll then start separating people that might actually be really valuable to the organization because I wasn't willing to like help them know and understand. But if I can do that well, I now have people that are willing to come along as the company's making shifts and changes by implementing new systems and processes. And that's where I'm able to now gain traction. And now it's more about their ability. Have I given them the ability to be successful? If so, then we can now sustain change. And so that's kind of our pattern. And I have a team that's been specifically trained and has a way of doing such things. And doesn't matter what business we take, whether it's the same industry or different industry.
Yeah.
These systems, they work for all companies. There's systems and processes that work for everybody, and to know what those things are is a gold mine.
I love that, man, because from personal experience, acquisitions can be tough. It's tricky when you acquire a company and have to integrate them and change things. You're right, especially the older they are. Um, but that sounds like a great approach. That sounds like but you have to be patient, I imagine, right? Patient with the team and take your time. But that is great.
One of the things we do is we're are highly selective of what organizations we're going to potentially consider an M&A opportunity because we're not looking from just your typical private equity investment, let's make money standpoint. We're actually having to count the cost of of the relationship before we even entertain this thing. So there's some qualifications. Is does this current company profile match who we're actually looking for? So if I'm going to take this team and put them in, we got to know that that it can actually work and that we can do it quickly at the
Mm.
speed that we want to. So there's a relationship that we'll spend time building with the organization prior to moving in and doing it uh, be, before we fully commit.
What's that timeline look like? How long does that typically take for you?
It can be different with every organization. You know, we have one specific organization that we were able to acquire, and there was a key individual that was running a $26 million operation. It was same industry as plumbing industry, and he had some bad business deals go down, and ended up in a really terrible financial space. And he specifically was just throw up the white towel. Um, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
I'll do anything. He's in full surrender mode, and we were able to go into that organization pretty quickly and just transform it within a matter of a couple months.
Wow.
Uh, that's because the highest level key individual, the owner, was just white flag. We
Yeah.
then brought him back into the organization as an employee, and so that he was able to sustain his future. So uh, he was taken care of. We loved him and cared for him in the process. Eventually, we actually gave him an equity position back into the company as a gift because he was so willing to actually
Wow.
surrender everything over to us. Are we going to do that same exact thing again? Probably not. You know, probably not. It just
Yeah.
worked out. It just worked out really well. We have another organization right now that has about 15-man operation, and uh, we're able to go in and transform that again, probably within a few months, 2, 3 months. Um, that's probably 90 days is
Yeah.
pretty quick.
That's pretty quick. That is
Pretty
in
pretty
terms
quick.
of acquisitions. Yeah, man.
Seems like 90 days once we're in, we can actually be. I think um our main strength is culture.
I could see that.
We
Based on the
infuse
conversation and based on you, I could see that.
we infuse healthy culture so fast and
Mm.
so quickly that when somebody actually feels loved, cared for, heard, understood, they'll go along with it, you know?
Okay, but sometimes, sorry, I should ask instead of assuming. Does that also mean addition by subtraction, right? Because sometimes there's people in a culture that are bringing it down. Do you find that you also have to come in and remove some people?
Yeah. Yeah. That happens sometimes. Um, it sounds interesting because again, we're not your typical, like, we're not an M&A company.
Yeah.
We're not a private equity group. We're not that. We have a different identity. So what I'm doing is I'm scaling solutions in the home service industry using merger and acquisition and joint ventures as my strategy. So
Mhm.
because I'm not your typical M&A, I'm not your typical joint venture, we're different. There's a relationship that takes place before we actually ink in and officially sign whatever agreements. And usually what happens is in the discovery to seeing if this organization qualifies for what we need to do, we actually kind of romance that relationship in advance, and we help them identify individuals that maybe should not be part of the organization. We try to get that leader to take that individual through the change management pyramid before we ever even get into it. And maybe the reason why they're a problem and they're not willing is because you haven't trained them. Maybe the reason why you're having a willingness issue and the person doesn't seem like a good cultural fit is because you haven't given them knowledge, you haven't given them understanding, you haven't given them what they need to be successful. Have you done that?
Mhm.
Let us help you do that. Let us help you do that. And we're able to kind of see the willingness of the leader that's currently in that company. That helps us through that process. We're able to get a good health assessment of the team, of what we are about to commit to ourselves before we ink something in. And we're able to kind of look from a, how do you say it? We have a unique ability to learn and understand all of the employees in the organization without creating threat of, hey, this new guy just showed up. This
Mm.
new guy just showed up out of nowhere. And who is he? We actually spend time getting to know the individuals through the current leadership prior to coming in through the merger and acquisition. And we actually start to introduce ourselves along the way. And they find that we're actually working on their behalf with their current owner, and they're starting to see their current owner or leader change. So their fundamental belief about us is good. So we're seeing a lot of transformation in the employees. This company's already invested into the people. Turnover is terrible. Turnover costs you a lot of money. So
Mhm.
we actually are
Absolutely.
we're actually like pro invest into the people wisely. See if you can make that investment and turn them quickly. If at some point I've given them knowledge and understanding and they're not willing, they're just not willing, that's when we're going to move to separation and separating somebody from the organization. But I'm going to take personal accountability first to make sure that we've given them the knowledge and understanding they need to be successful. And so, but yeah, the moment that I have a willingness problem, but I can with good clean conscience say that I've given you everything you need to be successful, and I run
Yeah.
into a willingness issue, it's time to separate.
Mm. Okay. So if we talk about the 10x goal, 3 years, it's a lot. What do you see as the biggest risks to getting there?
Um, Again, unique answers, man. My
Mhm.
risk is I just met with one of my leaders this morning. I met with the president of our plumbing company, and I was talking to him personally, some one to one conversation. I said, "Hey, I need you to take care of yourself. We're called to take care of ourselves before taking care of others." And that can get misunderstood. Even as a Christian, we're supposed to be others centered, to actually do for others, look out for others first, look out for the interests of others first. But I think that this gets misunderstood along the way. And I don't think that you can properly care for people if you're not cared for yourself. If you
Mm.
don't have something to give, if you don't have something to give, you won't give. If you're not blessed, you can't be a blessing. If you don't have resources, you'll have nothing to give. And so I focus on my leaders taking care of themselves along the way. So you asked about risk. When you have a 10x goal, rapid growth in a short amount of time, there's the potential that the individuals leading that thing aren't properly caring for themselves, and they're going to start burning out, and they're not going to be fresh. They'll give you everything they got, but what they got is fumes. And
Yeah.
I don't need leaders giving me fumes. I need to keep that gas tank full. And so for me, um, as the head of all of our organizations, I have to spend my time caring for my leaders, those who I've invested in, trusted to actually run my businesses. And if I don't do that well, I'll lose my team.
Mm.
And they might have the right heart, the right mind. They might even have good intentions. They might love me and be willing to die for me, but I'll still lose them because they just won't be able to sustain the rapid growth, because one of the systems that they lack sometimes is caring for themselves. One of those systems that you have to have is the system of self-care. How are
Mhm.
you consciously aware of how you're doing, and are you getting filled up and replenished? That might mean that they need a mentor. They need somebody to be able to speak to. They need to be able to offload some of their ideas and be able to bounce things. They might need to go to the gym. They might need to eat more healthy. They might need to be aware of their sleep. So we buy these aura rings for. This is
Mhm.
not my regular wedding ring. We all have aura rings. So if you're a leader in my organization, uh, you, it's kind of mandatory. You have to have an aura ring, and we're actually going to monitor your sleep, because we have to make sure that you're caring for yourself, and we have to make sure
Wow.
we're caring for you. And so we actually have sleep conversations and self care conversations, and really trying to find out how they're doing. And again, that all comes back to culture.
Yeah,
And now I can ask my leaders to do anything, and they'll do it because they want to, not because they have to, because I make them a priority.
because they know it's coming from a good place. Because you actually care,
Yeah,
right? Not just about the company, but about them.
that's
And
right.
not every leader does. Sometimes people just care about the company and they don't care about the people.
And that's the
Or
risk. The risk
yeah.
is the thing that they always say is, if you grow so fast, so big, how do you still seem like a family owned like business? Hey, that is a risk. It's a big, big risk. We're special. We have a
Yeah.
very special thing happening. Our company culture is thriving through the roof. Like, for somebody to come and work here at our organization, there, I'm surprised there's not a line of people outside trying to get in. Really,
Mhm.
there should be a line. And I get warnings from people, from other business people, says, "Well, you got to protect that, man. Don't grow. Don't grow too big, because you'll lose what's special." It's like, well, if we have the systems and processes in place to protect that,
Yeah.
then we can now continue to grow a good thing and not be afraid to grow a good thing.
I think that's right. I think that's right. As long as you don't lose sight of that, you can grow and maintain that good thing and maybe impact more lives. And it sounds like you've done that, but I hope that continues because it sounds like you do have a special, great business there and an awesome culture. You know. Last question that we always ask: if you could wave a wand or snap your fingers or whatever it is and change one thing about your company, that would improve it and maybe get you on that path, faster path to that $1 billion, what would that be?
For me, it's actually really clear and really easy. I have to stay personally. I have to personally stay a learner. Um, as somebody who's done well and figured things out and has a lot of success to be proud of, my team is incredible. They've helped me get here. We've all worked very, very hard. I couldn't have done things alone. But I have to stay flexible. I have to stay pliable. I got to be able to grow and continue to develop and continue to invest in myself if I'm going to lead this organization where we're going. And that can be one of the toughest things I think for a leader because when you're in charge of a lot, you're committed to a lot, and there's a lot of people wanting your time. There's a lot of people that need your time, and
Mm,
maybe you're really good at what you do. And so for me, I think that what I'm doing right now, I just need to keep doing. It's just staying teachable,
mm,
staying teachable, and prioritizing being around people that I can learn from. Whether that's a coach or an organization um, or other business owners, I have to prioritize putting myself in a place to learn from others, to get insights from others that have already done great things, maybe even done a lot bigger things than me. I would try to be around the best, the ones who have
mm,
great history of success. So I can just sit and take notes and take notes and take notes
mhm,
and then have a way to go process those notes. They don't just stay in a notebook somewhere from that one meeting that I went to. I have to
yeah,
have a system in place that I'm actually going to revisit all of that gold that I was able to extract from somebody else. If I keep doing that, then we'll keep growing and we'll continue to be healthy because it all starts with that key individual that leads the organization.
that's a great answer. Well, Eric, thank you, man. Really appreciate you spending the time with us. I've learned a lot. I think you've got a lot to teach and to give, and we appreciate your time, man. And congratulations on the success so far. I know you have ambitious goals, but you've also accomplished a lot, and it sounds like you guys have done great things there. So, wish you nothing but success, and thank you again for being here. Before we close up, where can folks go to learn more about your business or connect with you?
Oh man. So we have olsonsuperior.com. It's a plumbing company. I don't know much about what you're going to learn from there unless you need a plumber. Um, I have createdbyforge.com. That's our creative studio. Again, I don't know what you're going to learn from there. We offer services if you need them. Great. Um, uh, but you can follow me on Instagram. There's not much happening there right now, but there will be soon. It's Eric Dean Olson at Eric Dean Olson on Instagram. That's funny. I don't think I've ever told anybody about my Instagram ever. So there's like a post on there, but my team actually is going to start investing into content and just some of these leadership nuggets and things that we offer other people. I am going to
Nice.
start sharing on social media soon, but that was really strange for me to say. That was
That's great.
weird.
You should share more on social. You've got a lot of great things to say, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate it. And thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.